Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we distill complicated research into the focused, actionable insights you need.
Yep.
So today we're moving way beyond the diet fad basics. You came to us curious about how the ketogenic diet gets customized and, weaponized for high performance.
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. We're talking about the specialized variants and the single molecule that really drives the entire metabolic show.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to move past that simple definition of low carb. We're going to crack open the physiological playbook that athletes use.
Okay.
How they manipulate the main fuel molecule, beta-hydroxybutyrate, BHB, and how they strategically use muscle glycogen to train harder. We really need to understand how these protocols work and, crucially, the safety things you absolutely have to grasp.
Especially when carbs come back into the picture.
Especially then.
So let's start with the basics. The standard ketogenic diet, KD, that's usually under 50 grams of carbs a day, which pushes the body into ketosis. But to understand the high-performance versions, we have to start with the molecule that makes it all happen. Let's unpack beta-hydroxybutyrate, BHB.
BHB is really the headliner of the ketone body group. When you're fasting or on very low carbs, your liver steps in. It starts turning fatty acids into something called acetoacetate, which then gets made into BHB.
And that's what we measure in the blood.
That's the one. We define nutritional ketosis as having blood ketone levels somewhere between, say, 0.5 and 3 millimoles per liter. That's the zone where the magic happens.
Okay, so that's the what. But what's really fascinating here is why the body evolved to use BHB so well. I mean, why is it a better or at least a faster fuel for some organs than the fat it came from?
It's an evolutionary marvel, really, especially for your brain. BHB can cross the blood-brain barrier really easily. It uses this thing called the MCT transporter.
It's like a VIP pass to the brain.
It is, yeah. It guarantees your brain has fuel, even if you haven't eaten for days. But it's not just about getting there. BHB is also a cleaner fuel.
Cleaner how? What does that mean?
Well, when your body burns BHB for energy, it actually uses less oxygen than fat or glucose. And, this is critical, it produces fewer oxygen-free radicals.
Things like superoxide.
Exactly. Those are the things that cause damage, especially in a sensitive organ like the brain. So it's not just energy, it's a safer, faster energy process. That could have been a huge survival advantage.
So it's not just a backup plan, it's actually a high-performance fuel for your mind. But the sources also say BHB is more than just fuel. It's a signaling molecule, too.
Yes, it's a real power broker. It sends signals that can change gene expression and even inflammation. For athletes, studies show that supplementing with exogenous ketones can actually improve cycling endurance.
And it also helps with muscle growth.
It seems to. It
Yeah.
stimulates mTOR activation, which is a major signal for protein synthesis, a key marker for muscle growth.
And on the health side, that signaling means it's a powerful anti-inflammatory, right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest discoveries is that BHB can inhibit something called the NLRP inflammasome.
Which is like a cellular alarm system for inflammation.
The perfect way to put it. BHB kind of acts like a circuit breaker, just dampening that whole response. That's why there's so much interest in it for things like Alzheimer's or cognitive decline.
That's incredible. Fuel and an anti-inflammatory all in one. And the great thing for you, the listener, is you don't have to wait 3 days for this. You can use supplements, BHB salts, or MCTs, and get into what's called exogenous ketosis in minutes.
Which brings us to a huge point. We've established BHB is great for, baseline energy and thinking. What if you're a powerlifter? Or you do anything that needs short, all-out bursts of effort?
Yeah, the standard KD just falls short there.
It does. Why is that?
That's the classic problem, isn't it? Those really high-intensity, powerful movements rely almost entirely on glucose from muscle glycogen. You just can't ask a fat-fueled engine to do an all-out sprint.
Precisely. If you're an athlete training hard every day, you need that glycogen. So instead of throwing out keto entirely, experts came up with customized protocols. This is where we move into the targeted and cyclical diets.
Okay, let's break this down. First up, the Targeted Ketogenic Diet, or TKD. This one sounds like it's all about surgical precision.
It is. With TKD, you stay low carb all the time, except for a very specific window.
Yeah.
30 to 60 minutes right before a planned, intense workout.
And in that window, you have a specific amount of carbs.
A very specific amount, usually 20 to 50 grams of net carbs.
Why that timing? What's the goal?
The goal is to get that glucose into your bloodstream and into the muscles right as they start working. The muscles are so active, they just suck it right up for fuel. It's purely functional.
So you're providing just enough fuel for that one hard session.
And you're doing it without disrupting ketosis for too long. The idea is you'll be back in ketosis within an hour or two after the workout.
And the type of carb really matters here, I imagine.
Oh, hugely. You want something easily digestible, high GI, think liquids or even some types of candy. But you want to avoid too much fructose or sucrose because that goes to the liver first.
And you want the liver to stay in fat-burning, ketone-producing mode.
You got it.
Okay, so if TKD is precision fueling, the next one, the Cyclical Ketogenic Diet, CKD. That sounds more like a metabolic demolition and rebuild.
That's a perfect way to describe it. CKD is really for serious bodybuilders or strength athletes, people who can't operate on partially filled glycogen tanks.
So what's the structure?
It's usually a 5-2 or 6-1 split. So 5 or 6 days of very low-carb, deep ketosis, followed by 1 or 2 days of a very high-carb refeed.
I have to ask the skeptical question here. We know CKD is for performance, but doesn't that massive carb load and insulin spike just risk fat gain if you don't do it perfectly?
That is the #1 risk, and it's why it's so complex. The CKD only works if you achieve full glycogen depletion during those low-carb days.
The tank has to be completely empty.
Completely, because then, during the refeed, your body's first priority is to jam every single gram of carbohydrate back into your muscles as glycogen, not store it as fat.
And that refeed supports the heavy training and muscle growth.
And it gives the nervous system a break. But let's be really clear on one thing.
What's that?
Our sources are unanimous on this. CKD is not a health protocol. There's no research backing it for general health or weight loss. It's purely for performance athletes who understand the risks.
Which brings us to the refeed itself. I mean, these are definitely not cheat days.
Far from it. The refeed has to be highly structured. You need high-quality carbs like sweet potatoes, quinoa, oats, brown rice. You have to avoid the junk.
Right. Simple sugars, sodas, cakes. That would be a disaster.
A total disaster. They spike insulin uncontrollably, and critically, they often make you even hungrier, which makes getting back into ketosis way harder.
So what's the physiological goal here? What are the numbers we're talking about?
Well, the goal is to refill those muscle glycogen tanks way faster than normal. A common protocol, like the one from Lyle McDonald, is a 2-phase thing over 48 hours.
Okay, tell us about phase 1.
Phase 1 is the first 24 hours. It's about rapid saturation. You consume a massive amount, about 10 grams of carbs per kilogram of lean body mass.
Wow. Okay, for an average person, what does that even look like? That sounds like a ton.
It is. For, say, a 180-pound person with decent muscle mass, you're easily looking at 600 to 700 grams of carbohydrates in that first day.
That's unbelievable. And the macronutrient breakdown during that time must be completely skewed.
It is. You're minimizing fat because with all that insulin and glucose, your body is just primed for fat storage. The target is often something like 70% carbs, 15% protein, and only 15% fat.
And what's insulin doing here, besides just shoving glucose into muscle cells?
Insulin is acting as the ultimate anabolic or building signal. It tells all your cells to store nutrients. It dramatically increases the uptake of amino acids for muscle building, and maybe even more important, it stops protein breakdown.
So it shifts the body into a powerful muscle-building state.
That's the physiological payoff for all the stress of the diet.
So after the refeed, the clock is ticking. You have to get back into ketosis fast. What are the best ways to do that?
You're basically trying to rush the depletion process. The two main ways are intermittent fasting, maybe 16 to 20 hours, to burn off any stored liver glycogen.
And the other?
And the other, which is probably more effective, is high-intensity training. Heavy lifting, sprints, circuit training, anything to physically burn through those newly refilled muscle glycogen stores and force your body back to making ketones.
Okay, before we move on, we have to talk about the scale. Because anyone doing this wakes up after that refeed, looks down, and sees the number has jumped 5 or 10 pounds. You have to tell them why that's happening.
Absolutely. This is the water weight reality check, and it is pure physiology. It's not fat gain. Here's a fact to remember. For every single gram of glycogen your body stores, it also holds on to about 3 to 4 grams of water.
So if you just packed in 600 grams of carbs.
You also packed in over 2 kilograms or about 5 pounds of water right along with it.
So if the scale jumps 7 pounds, most of that is just water bound to your new fuel. It's temporary.
Exactly. It's just how the body works.
Yeah.
And it drops off fast once you go low carb again. So don't panic.
Okay, let's shift to the safety guardrails because this is vital. Let's talk about a weird side effect. When you bring carbs back after a long time, the body sort of struggles.
This is a critical point that gets missed a lot. Transient insulin resistance. If you've been keto for months, your body has basically shut down the enzymes that burn carbohydrates in your muscles. They're dormant.
Like the sugar burning machine is turned off.
Precisely. So when you hit it with a massive carb load, like in a CKD refeed, it takes time for those enzymes to wake up again, maybe 24 to 48 hours. In that window, your body can't clear glucose very well.
It mimics insulin resistance.
Right. Sometimes it was called starvation diabetes. It's why the full depletion before the refeed is so important. You want the muscles desperate for fuel.
Beyond that, electrolytes are probably the #1 safety issue for any of these diets. Why do we lose them so fast?
Ketogenic diets are powerfully diuretic. When your insulin drops and you deplete glycogen, your kidneys just start flushing out sodium and water. This loss of minerals is the real cause of the keto flu.
People think it's just detox, but it's actually a mineral crisis.
It is. That's the fatigue, the nausea, the lightheadedness when you stand up too fast. That's from your blood volume dropping because of the water and sodium loss.
So what should people be taking? I mean, beyond just drinking more water.
Oh, you need supplements. Way more than the RDA, especially for sodium. We're talking 3 to 5 grams of sodium, about a gram of potassium, and maybe 300 milligrams of magnesium daily.
That's what keeps everything stable.
It's not negotiable.
And finally, a quick note on kidney health. The general advice is that KD is not for people with existing kidney issues.
That is the responsible advice. And anyone with a pre-existing condition has to talk to a nephrologist, period. But our sources did show some nuance here.
In very specific cases.
Very specific. Some studies on very low-calorie ketogenic diets under strict medical supervision have shown promising results for obese patients with mild chronic kidney disease. But again, that is not a casual diet choice.
Before we wrap up, what about hunger? People always say their hunger just vanishes on keto. Is that the BHB?
It might play a small role, but the main driver seems to be the protein and fat. They slow down digestion a lot, and they stimulate an appetite-regulating hormone called CCK.
So you just feel full for way longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Slow digestion plus more CCK is a powerful combination for satiety.
So to pull this all together,
Modified ketogenic diets like TKD and CKD, they're not just diets. They're complex, high-wire metabolic strategies. You're trading continuous fat burning for strategic fuel availability.
and the whole system is built around BHB as this amazing fuel, but it demands really careful management.
Meticulous management, especially with electrolytes and the structure of that refeed. It's all about precision.
It's an absolute masterclass in metabolic flexibility. We saw that while a high-carb diet is still the gold standard for most athletes, these modifications exist for a reason. So, given the strict protocols needed for that CKD refeed to work, here's the provocative question for you to consider. How might understanding the specific quality and rigorous timing of those carbohydrates reshape your approach to fueling yourself, making you focus less on total carbs and more on strategic carbs, even if you're not following a cyclical ketogenic diet at all?
It's a great question to think about.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into performance fueling. We'll talk to you next time.